week 3 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first guy, Josh Reynolds of the Detroit Lions. So Josh Reynolds, so far the first few weeks here, he's been a main target of Jared Goff, obviously, behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Reynolds and Goff, they go back to their Rams days playing together, so they got a good chemistry. They know one of each other, obviously, and they just on the same page. So Reynolds, the first few weeks, week 1 at Kansas City, 4 grabs, 80 yards in that one. And week 2 versus Seattle in that ball game, 5 catches, 66 yards, and he found the end zone twice. So right now he's putting up solid numbers as Josh Reynolds. I know, obviously, Jameson Williams, he's out 4 more weeks from the suspension. And next week's a pretty good matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons. I know the Falcons, they're 2-0 on the season, but their secondary isn't all that great, and they pulled out the first 2 ball games early in the season. So right now, while Goff and Reynolds are on the same page, and he's been one of the better receivers so far this season here. He's available right now as Reynolds in 89% of fantasy leagues. Next wide receiver is Marvin Mims Jr., of the Denver Broncos. So Marvin Mims, he had his breakout party in week 2 versus the Washington Commanders. 2 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown and 10 rush yards. So we know he was explosive, obviously, in college. One of the top picks at the wide receiver position here is Marvin Mims. And a lot of people gave up on him just after week 1. He got dropped in 13% of fantasy leagues. So right now, Mims, he's available in tons of leagues at 77%. So week 1, like I mentioned, 2 catches, 9 yards. And week 2 versus the Commanders in that one, 113 yards. So I know he caught a monster deep ball, but in college, he was known for that as Marvin Mims. Right now, Sutton and Judy, the top guys over there in Denver, but he's a guy that can work the seam and work the deep ball as Marvin Mims. And him and Russell Wilson so far, they were on the same page, it seems like. And Wilson, he likes him a lot as well, because they were missing that third receiver last season, as well as Denver, with the injuries in and out, and Tim Patrick missing the whole season. So right now, Marvin Mims available in 77% of fantasy leagues. Next receiver is Tank Dell, Houston Texans. So Dell, he definitely was a sleeper coming into the season, but right now he's moving up the depth chart pretty quick over there for this Texan team. Available right now, 95% of fantasy leagues. So the first few weeks, week 1 at Baltimore, 3 catches, 34 yards. And week 2 versus Indianapolis, a great ball game, 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. And the 10 targets is key. So right now, week 3 could be a ball game once again, where they're trailing early and often here as Houston. They're going to have to throw a lot. And I know Noah Brown's on the injured reserve right now. Sedell's the 3rd wide receiver on the depth chart behind Nico Collins and Robert Woods. Sedell, we know he's a playmaker in college. We know he's not the biggest of guys, but him and CJ Stroud definitely could get things going and on the same page. So far in the first 2 ball games, he's seen the field. He has 14 targets and available widely pretty much in every fantasy league at 95%. He's definitely a wide out. I would give an ad to this week. The next wide receiver, Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. I know Christian Watson, he's missed the first 2 weeks of the season, but Jaden Reed, he's one of the quicker wide receivers coming out of the draft this season, and the guy that definitely can help Jordan Love in this Green Bay Packer offense, even if Watson comes back and he becomes the 3rd wide receiver. So the week 1 is Chicago, 2 catches, 48 yards, and then week 2 with Atlanta, a little bit of everything he was doing. 4 catches, 37 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. So right now, hopefully Watson's back from the hamstring injury in week 3, but regardless, I think Jaden Reed's going to have a role on this team. And like I said, he's a speedster, and a guy LaFleur is definitely high on over there in Green Bay, and him and Jordan Love have good chemistry going. So right now, the first couple weeks, he's looked good as Jaden Reed. And as a depth move and a guy to have on the back end of your bench if you're not going to start him, obviously, in shallow leagues. He's definitely an ad this week, available 90% of fantasy leagues. Next wide receiver is Tutu Atwell of the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams guys have come out of nowhere so far the first 2 weeks of the season, and they become fantasy options. Kyron Williams, he's the starting running back over there, took the job over, and I said last week he was the top priority at the running back position, but now it's too late for fantasy owners to go out there and get him. And then we saw with Nakua as well, another great ball game, but too well to the radar the first few weeks, but he's put up back-to-back nice ball games, especially in PPR leagues with 15 or more fantasy points. Week 1 at Seattle, 6 catches, 119 yards. And week 2 versus the Niners, 7 catches, 77 yards on 9 targets. I know reports come out last week here that Cooper Kupp possibly could be back week 5, but right now Matthew Stafford, we always knew he liked spreading the ball around. And we know as well here they needed a second or third guy behind Cooper Kupp, so I think Nakua could be that, obviously, And Otwell is a deep threat and a slot guy as well. Definitely can help, I believe, this Los Angeles Ram team, even when Cooper Kupp comes back. So right now he's got a lot of speed. He could be a gadget guy as well as Otwell. And him and Matthew Stafford have been on the same page. And he's available right now in tons of leagues is Otwell. It's 75%. And the final wide receiver I looked at off the wire is Donovan People-Jones of the Cleveland Browns. So right now, banged up once again is Amari Cooper. And it's looking like he's probably not going to play in that Monday Night Football game here tonight is Cooper. So People-Jones last season, we saw him have a breakout year for this Brown team where he had 61 catches, 839 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And right now, he's going to step into a role right away if Cooper's going to miss a week or two here. So right now, available in 89% of fantasy leagues. I know week 1, he didn't see the field really at all. Is People-Jones, only a catch for 12 yards on 2 targets. But it's a good matchup on Monday Night Football here if you want to even add him before the ball game. And then next week, a good one versus the Tennessee Titans that giving up the most passing yards and receiving yards, where their defense is good against the run, but in terms of dropping back and stopping wide receivers, it's not happening for this Titan team over the last few seasons. So right now, People-Jones, like I said, you want to add him before the game tonight, see what he does. If you got a guy to drop on your bench, you could do that. And like I said, if Cooper misses extended time, he's definitely a wide receiver that could balloon up the ad list and be a guy that can help fantasy owners. And we saw last season. So that's a few receivers I looked at off the waiver wire here in week 3 of the fantasy football season.